In the early years of the 21st century, few global issues have been as fraught with misunderstanding and deliberate distortion as the relationship between Islam and the West. In Mahmood Mamdani's seminal work, Good Muslim, Bad Muslim, America, the Cold War, and the Roots of Terror, readers are invited to look beyond the simplistic binaries that have dominated public discourse since the events of September 11, 2001. This book is a powerful intellectual intervention, compelling us to unravel the historical, political, and cultural forces that have shaped contemporary perceptions of Islam, terrorism, and Western foreign policy. At its core, Mamdani's book is a critique of the way knowledge is constructed and weaponized to serve political ends. The central dichotomy, the division of Muslims into good and bad, is not, as Mamdani persuasively argues, an organic outgrowth of Muslim societies themselves. Rather, it is a lens imposed from the outside, manufactured in Western policy circles and popular media, then exported around the globe. The good Muslim is cast as the secular, moderate, apolitical figure who can be assimilated into Western ideals, while the bad Muslim is the fundamentalist, the militant, the ideological enemy. This binary, Mamdani shows, is not just an intellectual misstep. It is a tool of power, used to justify military interventions, surveillance, and the erosion of civil liberties both at home and abroad. Mamdani's analysis begins by tracing the roots of this binary to the Cold War era, a period when the United States and its allies, obsessed with containing the spread of communism, began to view political Islam as a useful ally. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the case of Afghanistan. Through meticulous research, Mamdani demonstrates how American policymakers, in their zeal to undermine the Soviet Union, poured vast resources into arming and training Islamist militias. Figures who would later be labeled as terrorists were, at the time, celebrated as freedom fighters and partners in a noble cause. The seeds of future conflict were sown not through some inevitable clash of civilizations, but through conscious choices made in the context of global power politics. This historical account is vital, Mamdani argues, because it disrupts the narrative that terrorism is simply the product of a pathological Islamic culture. Instead, he insists on the primacy of politics, the struggles of societies caught in the crossfire of superpower rivalries, the legacy of colonial rule, and the continued meddling of external powers in the affairs of the global South. By framing terrorism as a political phenomenon, Mamdani challenges the dominant discourse that would reduce it to religious fanaticism, and he calls for a more nuanced, historically grounded understanding. The book also draws striking parallels between the colonial strategies used in Africa and the post-9/11 policies of the United States. Mamdani, who has written extensively on colonialism and its aftermath, is particularly skilled at teasing out these continuities. In both cases, he notes, external powers have used the rhetoric of civilizational difference to divide and rule. In colonial Africa, ethnic and religious distinctions were heightened and manipulated to prevent unified resistance. In the post-9/11 world, the good Muslim, bad Muslim dichotomy serves a similar function, justifying interventions and reinforcing the idea that some populations are inherently suspect. Yet Mamdani does not limit his analysis to the machinations of great powers. He is equally attentive to the ways in which local actors navigate, resist, and adapt to these external pressures. The rise of political Islam, he suggests, cannot be understood solely as a reaction to Western intervention. It is also a response to the failures of post-colonial states, the search for alternative forms of legitimacy and community, and the ongoing negotiation of identity in a rapidly changing world. In this sense, Mamdani's work is a call for complexity, urging us to move beyond either-or explanations in favor of a richer, more interconnected view of history. Mamdani's style is dense, yet not impenetrable. His prose reflects the seriousness of his subject, but he is a careful guide, providing the historical background and theoretical frameworks necessary to follow his argument. He draws on personal experience as well as scholarly research, grounding his analysis in both lived reality and rigorous investigation. For readers accustomed to the reductive sound bites of mainstream media, this approach may require patience, but it is ultimately rewarding. Mamdani is not content to tell us what to think. He wants us to see the world differently, to question the assumptions that underlie our most cherished beliefs. One of the book's most powerful interventions is its insistence on the political roots of violence. By focusing on the specific historical circumstances that gave rise to contemporary forms of terrorism, Mamdani exposes the inadequacy of culturalist explanations. He reminds us that no society is immune to political violence, and that the labeling of certain groups as inherently violent serves to obscure the broader dynamics at play. This point is especially salient in an era when policy debates are so often framed in terms of cultural incompatibility and existential threat. Central to Mamdani's argument is the idea that knowledge production is itself a form of power. The way we talk about terrorism, about the Middle East, about Islam, is never neutral. Each narrative serves particular interests and advances particular agendas. Mamdani challenges us to be alert to these dynamics, to ask ourselves whose voices are being amplified and whose are being silenced. He encourages readers to seek out alternative sources of information, to engage with the histories and perspectives that are too often marginalized in mainstream debates. While the book is a profound indictment of Western foreign policy, particularly the American tendency to support authoritarian regimes and proxy wars in the name of stability, Mamdani is careful not to slip into apologetics for political Islam or to excuse acts of violence. His aim is not to justify terrorism, but to situate it within a broader framework, one that takes seriously the role of state violence, historical trauma, and the legacies of colonialism. In this way, he offers an alternative to the moral panic that so often accompanies discussions of security and counterterrorism. For readers seeking a critical perspective on the war on terror and its intellectual underpinnings, Good Muslim, Bad Muslim is essential reading. Mamdani's analysis provides a desperately needed corrective to the prevailing wisdom, challenging us to think beyond the clash of civilizations rhetoric that has dominated so much of the post-9/11 era. He reframes the conversation, focusing our attention on the structures of power and the historical contingencies that have shaped our present. Yet, as with any ambitious work, there are criticisms to consider. Some readers may find Mamdani's prose overly academic, his arguments dense and occasionally repetitive. Those coming from more conservative or realist traditions may bristle at his unflinching critique of American foreign policy, interpreting it as an overly sympathetic stance toward political Islam. However, Mamdani's careful distinctions and refusal to excuse violence on any side make it clear that his loyalty is to truth, not to ideology. Ultimately, Good Muslim, Bad Muslim is a bold and intellectually rigorous work, one that demands our attention and rewards our engagement. In a world where the temptation to simplify is ever present, Mamdani offers a powerful reminder of the importance of nuance, context, and critical thinking. He gives voice to the complexities too often ignored in the rush to judgment, urging us to look beyond headlines and sound bites to the deeper forces at work in global politics. By the time readers reach the end of Mamdani's analysis, they are left with a sense of both the enormity of the challenges we face and the possibility of more humane, informed approaches to international relations. Mamdani does not offer easy answers. Instead, he equips us with the tools to ask better questions, to interrogate the narratives we inherit, and to imagine a world in which justice and understanding are not sacrificed on the altar of expediency. For anyone seeking to make sense of the turbulent relationship between Islam and the West, this book is not just recommended, it is indispensable.